Thank you, PJ. It is time for another edition of the Pair and a Spare podcast. I'm Justin Gaard from The Fan, Chip Scoggins from the Minnesota Star Tribune, and Ryan Burns from GopherIllustrated.com. We are presented, as always, by our great partners and great friends at Jack's Cafe. You see it on the bottom of the YouTube channel right now. You can make your reservations at jackscafe.com, jaxcafe.com. How we doing, guys? Did everybody recover from another night game? Burnsy, how are you feeling? How's your sleep? And are you ready for another night game this weekend at Huntington Bank Stadium?
Banes of my existence, outstanding opportunities for fans to get to see. This is one of the things we talk about with Jack's Cafe, by the way. Because of these night games, you know what you get an opportunity to do on a weekend morning or early afternoon is if you want to earn some brownie points each of the next 2 weeks, this is your opportunity with 2 night games. Go to a brunch, go get some lunch, whatever it may be at Jack's, and then you get to spend the whole day and then come on over to see me, Chip, and Guardsy over at Huntington Bank. I got a couple hours of sleep, but I know Chip was tearing up the nightclub scene from what I've told.
I made it back to watch the second half to my hotel. That tells you how old I am in my nightclub scene, but yes.
And where were you, Chipper?
I was in New York City. My daughter moved from, I guess Chicago wasn't big enough and lively enough for her, so she had to move from Chicago to New York City for a job transfer. So my wife and I went for the weekend to help her get settled in, make sure everything was put away in her new apartment. And so I was there Friday, Saturday, and flew home late Sunday. So almost 3 full days there.
Give us the rundown. Give us the Chip Scoggins review, because I'm very jealous. I'm extremely jealous of your daughter. I would live in New York in a second. Burnsy would have no shot. He would hate every second of it. I could move there tomorrow.
It's definitely. I don't. I was trying to think if I was young, would I want to do it? I can totally understand walking through there at night and she's in that kind of Lower East Side, West Village, East Side. All those neighborhoods that are so trendy and. It is amazing walking around there at night and all the streets that are closed off and all the restaurants and bars that have it's not patio seating, it's street seating. You're out
sidewalk.
There, sidewalk seating. Yeah.
Sidewalk
and
street. Yep.
Just amazing. I mean, just street after street after street and all the young professionals that are out there. It is chaotic and energetic and noisy. Maybe a little bit too much for my small town Southern upbringing, but my daughter loves an adventure and she's all in. I mean, she's, she thinks she's found heaven. And so it was a fun weekend. It was, I'm happy for her and happy for all those young people that get to experience it. I mean, I was texting with you about, the bars to go to, and there's, 9 million of them that you could stop and, I didn't hit 9 million, but we hit a few of them, and not too wild. I was so tired from walking and helping her move and put stuff together for her apartment. But it is an interesting, fascinating.
It's a scene.
It is a scene. Yeah.
It's a vibe. So were you not able to do the brick oven pizza? Were you not able to go to Brooklyn? Because that's my best recommendation.
Actually, we did go to Brooklyn. Where she lives is just a short subway ride over there.
I know.
We can see the Brooklyn Bridge right from her apartment. So we did make it over to Brooklyn, but oddly enough, we went to Target because we had to make a Target run. We had to buy some things there. So
I love it. I'm so jealous.
Yeah, but it was fun. Yeah. And I'm it's tough to have her a little bit farther away than Chicago, but it'll be fun to go visit.
Burnsy, you ready to lock in? You ready to go cover Rutgers football and live in Manhattan?
I just want to know if Chip paid the New York City bar prices of what I'm sure is $18 for a Michelob or whatever.
Yeah, it was. We actually found some places that were more economic. But yeah, I actually bought some $12 beers, which I don't know is that different than a lot of places.
It's not that bad.
It's not that.
It's a couple of dollars more.
Yeah, it's not that different.
Well, you're spending too much time on Facebook. You're spending too much time on Facebook, Burnsy. If you want to spend $50 a drink in New York, yes, you certainly can, but you don't have to. You don't have to go to those places. They have something for everybody. I'm not saying you're going to get dollar you call it like you're in a college town.
No,
but you can find something that's a little bit more economical, as Chipper said.
But as I said, dinner Friday night in Little Italy, I'm gonna splurge a little bit.
As you should.
Yep,
you've earned it.
Yeah.
You've earned it. All right. Speaking of splurging, the Ohio State offense had a feast. So did the Ohio State defense.
Look at that transition.
That's why I'm in charge. That's why I have the big box.
That's why you're the pro.
On the YouTube channel. Yeah, it was a feast. The training wheels were taken off. My line during the broadcast was people wanted to know if Julian Sayen's training wheels were going to be taken off. I said, not only were the training wheels taken off, he was given an e-bike. He didn't even ride a regular bike. He went right from, and Burnsy doesn't have kids. He doesn't get it. Training wheels, regular bike, e-bike that are going 40 miles an hour down residential streets, and towns are trying to have to figure out exactly, should this be legal? Should we let 9-year-olds run around on little mini motorcycles? That was Julian Sayen, unfortunately, for the Ohio State Buckeyes, if you're a Gopher fan. The training wheels were taken off, Burnsy, and I know you got a lot of thoughts.
I'm still trying to picture 9-year-olds on an e-bike. I didn't know that was a thing.
Come on over.
It is.
Come on over and just stare out the window,
yeah.
and I'll be like, you used to put the slow children at play, which my late uncle had a great line. He'd always say, it's too bad those kids are so slow. Just come on. You put the slow children at play sign out, not for adults anymore. You put it for kids tearing through the block. And of course, what do my kids want? They want e-bikes. And I said, nope, we're not getting you those. So come on over, Burnsy, anytime you want to see it. We've got we're basically like a Hell's Angel motorcycle gang of e-bikes over here in Minnetonka. It's a ride. No pun intended.
The Minnetonka something's over there. Look at goodness gracious. I'm learning all types of things today. Yeah, the Gopher defense. Here's my question to you two. And I wrote about it after the game, and I know that's why Guardsy brings it up. And Chip, I'll ask you first. What is and it's not just the Ohio State game. It's the last three games against Power 4 competition. What is the identity of this Gopher defense?
Yeah, it's going into it, the season, I thought it would be the front line of Anthony Smith, Devin Eastern and company wreaking havoc, and Coy Parrish and Kerry Brown playing center field and making plays and creating turnovers. Clearly is not that right now. I went back and I was looking at the national rankings for takeaways this season. And again, we're not counting game 2. That doesn't count to me. I'm sorry. You get 4 turnovers against that team. It doesn't count. Other than that game, 2 turnovers in 4 games.
Can I make it worse for you and tell you they have 2 defensive takeaways in their last 7 FBS games?
That's going to be hard to win.
I asked the head coach about it yesterday. He loves to talk about the 78%, explosive plays, turnover margin, and missed tackles. They've missed 45 tackles their last 3 games. The Gopher defense has.
Yeah.
They have 2 defensive takeaways in their last 7 games. And they don't get enough pressure to generate explosive plays around the quarterback. And when you're also not getting takeaways through the air, you get to have discussions like this one to lead off podcasts across the country of what do they do well right now? And I don't know that they do much particularly well, because in those 3 games against Cal, Rutgers, and Ohio State, they're also not getting off the field on third down. They're 16th in the conference at 54% of third downs are being converted against them. I don't know that they got the horses. That's one of the other things I'll pose to you too is Fleck loves to talk about 3 things when he's evaluating. So let's do the same thing the head coach does. Is it players? Is it coaching? Or is it scheme that have you the most worried, considering what we've had to watch here these last 3 weeks?
Is players tied to scheme in that they know they can't do certain things? I think there's probably one in the same, correct?
They're closely tied together, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't realize the third down was that bad. I mean, I knew they were having trouble. I didn't realize it was over 50%. And I go back a couple of years ago. I mean, remember they were up towards the top nationally, and that's why they always rank so high in time of possession, because they ran the ball, and then when the opponent got it, they got the field on third down, and so the time of possession got skewed. But if you're not getting off third down and you're not creating turnovers, then you're not doing really anything well, because you're not stopping them and you're not creating explosive plays. So I just thought with their playmakers that this would be a team. I thought they would give up yardage because they had so many questions at their corners and in their depth. But I thought they had enough playmakers that they would create turnovers to kind of offset that. They should.
Yeah,
they should. When you look at them, the players that they have, I mean, they have, Parrish, Kerry Brown, Anthony Smith, Creighton Saxon. I mean, they should have guys that create these kind of opportunities, but it's not happening.
Yeah, I don't know scheme well enough. I'm not Daniel House, even though I am a subscriber to GophersGuru.com, and I think everybody should be because he explains things very well. They're just so inconsistent, Burnsy. Like even just the Rutgers game.
Mm-hmm.
The Rutgers game was a tale of like 4 different defensive stories, right? That they couldn't do anything for the first couple minutes or first couple possessions, first 3 really. Then Rutgers couldn't do anything, and they sacked him how many times? 6 times?
7 total.
Yeah, 6 or 7 times. And all of a sudden it looks like, wow, they understand how to get pressure. They obviously had the turnovers there, and they probably could have had more. Even the Cal game, like the quarterback plays pretty well. Then they shut that down for a little bit, get some pressure. Well, guess what? Then Cal all of a sudden starts running the ball in the third quarter out of nowhere. And it's almost like they're just a half step behind and everything. And the playmaker stuff, like Coy could have had a pick on Saturday night, right? Like he was 1 inch away from having a pick right at the goal line. I'm assuming Ohio State scored in that drive because they scored on every single drive. But I just feel like there's been a lot of those too, of just half step slow, half step behind, whether that's not seeing something quickly enough, whether that's you're doing something else you shouldn't be, whether you're just not good enough. I don't know. We'll see how it goes this weekend.
Well, the takeaways tend to be, that's one of those things that's hard to quantify because you can do all the right things and just not come, right? You don't get opportunities. The tackling's a problem. And if we go back to that Rutgers game, that last drive, I mean, they got bailed out by a bad snap, miscommunication, whatever, 8th and 9. How many tackles they miss on that drive where the, a guy bounces off in a 3-yard gain, turns into a 13-yard gain. What'd you say the number was, Burnsy? 45 in 3 games. I mean, that's just, and I know it's, you can practice it and do the thud and all the different things that they try to simulate tackling because you're not really tackling in practice. But to me, that is the probably the most glaring thing is that they're giving up so many yards after what should be short gains.
Sure.
And it's probably, I'm guessing that's tied to the third down percentage too, why it's so high because of missed tackles.
Yeah, I'd say guys are in the right spot. I think you go back and watch that Ohio State game. They missed a lot of tackles, but there's guys right there to make the play. And Ohio State makes a miss. Instead of 2nd and 10, it's 2nd and 1 or a first down. Or even against Rutgers. Guardsy references the Coy Parrish one against Ohio State. Fleck has now said it to me in the media the last 2 weeks. Catch the ones they throw you. Against Rutgers, they had 4 or 5 of those where they could have come away with them and they didn't. Some of it's bad luck. Some of it's a bad execution. But I think specifically with the Ohio State game, I know a lot of people, and we see all of the comments and things like that is, well, Ryan, what do you expect? They're 15 yards off. Or Ryan, they're playing press man. What do you expect? I mean, Carnell Tate and Jeremiah Smith are just insane. And so you got to pick your poison. Plus, Bo Jackson, I know it's not Tecmo Bowl 1985, but he's a very good player too. It's just anything they tried to do, Ohio State, just because of what they have, has a counter. And so that's where you look at the game coming up this weekend specifically. I mean, Purdue loves to throw the football. This is like Drew Brees Purdue with how often they're throwing the football right now. Gopher defenses against Power 4 quarterbacks. Chip, you ready for this one?
Mm-hmm.
Completing 68% of their passes for 290 passing yards per game. They've got 8 passing touchdowns and just 1 interception. There's going to be some points put up at Huntington Bank on Saturday night is the way I view it. But for Danny Collins, Minnesota's defensive coordinator, I think the crux of it is this. Anthony Smith is tremendous. He's got 16.5 tackles for loss in his last 12 games. But someone else on the defensive line needs to do something because Jalen Logan Redding and Devin Eastern have not been what I think you, myself, Guardsy thought they were going to be coming into the season. The Jackson Howard and Carter Menz, I think Carter Menz has been getting better, but they need to find ways to move quarterbacks off their spots because you watch Julian Sand. I mean, he he had all the time in the world. He never got moved. And if you have time and with Jeremiah Smith, Carnell Tate, may the Lord bless you and keep you, Chipper.
Well, that's it. Yeah. I mean, you're right. And we thought that their starting defensive line would be impactful and be really good. So far it's just been basically one guy who's been really good. So yeah, you need the Logan Reddings and those guys to show up. And we saw it too. Like when they didn't get pressure on Athan, he was able to sit back there and pick them apart. And then when they got pressure on him and he disrupted them, but early on they weren't getting pressure on him, and he just kind of sat back there and found his guy. So that's and we've said it from the beginning. It's like they're not good enough in the back end to think that they're going to win there. They're going to need help, whether it's blitz, whether it's the corners. And it's tough because I got to see the second half of that game. Is like the talent discrepancy on the two sides was just reflected in the score. I mean, they made it look pretty easy with pitch and catch. Nestor trying to cover those receivers was just not going to work. I mean, and Ohio State, I think they're the best team in the country. I think, as I said last year, when they play at their, if all teams are playing at their best, I think Ohio State's the best. If they play at their peak, they're going to be tough to beat. But you still got to find a way to, generate something, and this to me, these next four, I've been thinking about this since I saw the quote from PJ. We're a good football team. Forget whether we're a good football team. To me, these next four games are going to either show that or not show it.
This is your season, yeah. The next month.
I'm gonna count Michigan State as October, but these next four games in October, even though it's November 1st, Purdue, Nebraska, Iowa, Michigan State. 3 of those are at home. This is your season. This is your chance to say, is this a good team? That's just obviously not in the same category as the elite teams. I don't know what PJ said this is a good team. I don't think I can sit here and say this right now, agree with him. They have to show it this month to me.
Well, here's the thing I'll say back to you is, okay, we talk about that 4-game stretch. I think they'll be favored in 2 of them, Purdue and Michigan State. 2, they'll be underdogs at Kinnick and then against Friday night at home against Nebraska. What is a successful now you can interpret that word specifically, successful. What is a successful run for that stretch? 4-4. Is it 2-2? Is it 3-1? Is it 4-0? How do you view it?
If you're a good team, I say 3-1.
Yeah, I think 3-1.
If you're a good team, I say 3-1. If it's 2-2, you're an average team. You're an average team, a big team, Because if you go 2-2, I think you're going to finish 7-5, more than likely.
Yeah, I still got Northwestern and Wisconsin.
Yeah, yeah. I think 3-1 means you're a good team, which would be 8-4 technically.
And that's what I said going into the
average team would be 7-5 probably. I mean, one game makes that much difference. I don't know. Yeah, I think that's fair. I think 3-1.
I just don't really know what this team is yet.
Which is strange to say, considering Saturday is going to be the halfway point of the season.
Am I wrong though? I mean, I don't get a sense of what this team's good at yet. I think the quarterbacks can be pretty good.
Yeah, the quarterback's good. Their best offensive player's been out since for a month, so that's part of it too. But I think the quarterback's good. We'll talk about Darius in a minute. But there's a lot still up in the air for sure. There's a lot of more questions probably than answers. But if the quarterback's good, I mean, it's nice to have that one answered.
I think the thing I keep coming back to, we all thought they would get blown off the field. Sorry, nothing there surprised me.
No, Burnsy will tell you I had a weird feeling.
Yeah,
did?
Well, there was just drunk? No, I wasn't. Maybe I was just tired. But I'm like,
you should have seen his cup. It was filled with maroon and gold colored Kool-Aid up there in the press box.
No, but I'm watching UCLA beat Penn State. I'm watching all this craziness. I'm like, man, I just think they'll play well. And then the first drive, I'm like, yeah, perfect. This is what you need. You have run 7 minutes off the clock, and would have been nice to get a touchdown. Yeah, that's why you don't bet your feelings.
Yeah, but then I keep coming back to that Cal game, and they were so poor that game. So they played poorly. had a nice win against Rutgers, even though the defense had issues. You got blown off the field, against Ohio State. So it's like, I don't know. I think that just need to see more to kind of know like what this team is.
One of the things on my agenda for this week is to look up what the record is for road teams in night games, Power 4 and Power 4, because I don't think it's very good this year. Think about Illinois going into Indiana on a national televised game and getting absolutely sucker punched in the face and then bouncing back. Minnesota's now had to play in 2 night games, and they've still got Oregon on a Friday night. So I would imagine that hopefully, in theory, it bounces back in Minnesota's direction, where now they've got 2 straight night games at home. Hopefully it bounces back. But if they're going to go 3-1 in that stretch, which I think all 3 of us agree would be successful, it's going to have to be because of Drake Lindsey and the offense putting up 30 points a game. That there's just no way around it because of the things we're talking about defensively, and Darius is back now, which we can touch on. But if they're going to go 3-1 in that stretch, we're going to spend the first bye week talking about Drake Lindsey and Greg Harbaugh and Darius Taylor having to carry the load for this thing, because I don't know that I see it defensively outside of – it's tough for Kerry Brown and Coy Parrish to get interceptions when there's no pressure on the quarterback. They don't get to play center field if you don't get any pressure around the guys. So Danny Collins has got a lot to figure out with how to get more pressure on quarterbacks coming up here.
All right, should we talk about the offense quickly for Ohio State, and then we can pivot to some things in our final half hour or so. Looked like a great first 15, right? The script looked good. Whatever they came up with, they figured out, we're going to move the ball a little bit against this defense. They kicked the field goal. They're up 3-0. They got a stop too, right? Right after that. And so you're thinking, this is okay, solid. Obviously, it didn't last. Darius Taylor didn't last. I think 8 carries, right, Burnsy, for 12 yards. Mm-hmm. You are way up there on the top of Ohio Stadium with your own version of the All-22.
Goodness gracious. I felt like I was watching the game from 30,000 feet up there.
Yeah, I get afraid of heights at Ohio. I'm not going to lie. Like, I look out because it feels like you're right off the booth. You're like, oh, man, like, I don't want to be anywhere near this edge. That's how soft I am. But they want you to see the band, Burnsy. I know they want you to see the band formation because it's a really good band. They don't mind telling you.
Yeah. Well, hopefully I can get a press box seat next time.
Oh boy, we're not
going
to do that. Yeah,
wow.
We're not going to do that.
Yes.
So what do we think? Offense.
Yeah, the opening drive. Ohio State had historically under Matt Patricia, now only 4 games, they've been a very zone-heavy team. They play a lot of zone in the opening drive. Drake Lindsey can understand how to find the soft spots in his zone, and he did. And it's unfortunate that his lone, I won't say bad pass, but certainly wasn't a good one, was just a fingertip too far for Javon Tracy, or else that would have been a touchdown on the opening drive. They still get points, still the first opening drive that Ohio State has allowed points. But this is where Ohio State is just different compared to Minnesota, Chip. They said, okay, I'm going to play man. And Minnesota's skill position can't get open against man. And then their offensive line, which saw 4 different guys at new spots, really struggled to keep Drake upright. And when you can't run the football, you can't get open on the outside against Ohio State's athletes. That's kind of why you're going to have a 1 of 11 night on third down.
Yeah, and when you can't run the ball, obviously they can just tee off on the freshman quarterback. What was the conversation about shuffling so many guys on offensive line? To me, that's odd that you're halfway through the season and you don't even know what you're moving 4 different guys on your offensive line. Why did this not get settled in training camp?
Well, my argument is, why didn't they make these changes off the bye week? You had a whole bye week to, if you wanted to, with 3 games of data to shuffle things around. And now you decide to do it for the first time in front of 105,000 fans, and you're doing a silent count the entire game. I just don't think they're a very physical offensive line. I think guys like Nathan Roy and Greg Johnson are athletic. I think Ashton Beers is fine. But I posed it to this way to PJ Fleck yesterday, is why don't you get knocked back up front? You watch these runs, and there's too many times specifically on the interior of the offensive line. By the time the running back gets the football, both guards or 2 of the 3 interior guys are 3 yards into the backfield. That's not how this is supposed to go. Like they are just struggling to get any knockback. And I hear everyone and I agree with them that 3rd and 4th and short, I looked into the statistics. They are the worst conversion team in that regard. And I have also said this the last couple of weeks. I think Greg Harbaugh should take shotgun runs on 3rd and 4th and short and punt them to the moon, eviscerate them in the ether. You can choose your phrase. I hate it. I hate it so much. And Darius being back now, I think will help mitigate some of this, but I'd also encourage folks, go watch those runs and go watch the offensive line get pushed into the backfield. And we know that Fleck is adamant about running the football there. And we've seen it no matter the coordinator. That's the one thing they got to figure out is they stink in 3rd and 4th and shorts. And Darius Taylor missed the last 3 games and him being back now. And I expect a 20 carry workload on Saturday against Purdue, but yeah, Chip, shotgun runs.
Yeah. I don't understand, especially you had 2 failed ones, against Rutgers at the end of the first half. And it's like, I don't, for the life of me, understand why don't you just go under center with a big quarterback and sneak it, or give it, because if you feel like Darius is back, okay, that's going to improve that, but still you're making it that much more difficult. Now you've got to get 6 yards or 7 yards when you're in. I just, that baffles me. And I would love to know. I wish we could have a conversation with them more than 5 questions at a press conference. Like, what's the philosophy? What do you like about that formation in shotgun when you're in 3rd and 1? Why do you feel like that's effective versus being under center? They're going to lose that game regardless, but it's just, I don't understand it. So when you said they're last in 3rd and short, I assume that's Big Ten, not.
Yeah, that's
FBS,
Big Ten. I only looked
at
the 18,
and that checks out.
Teams.
Like with what you're thinking in your head, that adds up because they have not been good at it. They've not been good at it.
Yeah, and now you get to face a Purdue team who is allowing 33 points a game to Power 5 competition. They've allowed more explosive passing plays than any other Big Ten team. They struggle to generate pressure. They're a rebuilding team in year 1. I mean, this is setting up to be a very Drake Lindsay type of Rutgers performance if things go well. And this isn't going to be Ohio State defensive backs locking you down across the field. So I think they're going to continue to mix things up front because it can't get any worse. Again, I think Nathan Roy and Greg Johnson are a great starting point. And I think Ashton Beers has been largely fine in his first year as the guy at center. Is Khalid Tafai on a milk carton somewhere? Can we find him? Is he healthy yet? You paid some money for him out of the portal. I'd love to see him in a game at some point this year. You saw Dylan Ray get replaced by the pride of Tracy, Minnesota, Tony Nelson, in the second half. I would keep mixing things up, Chip, because if you just keep it the same, I think about that quote that's always attributed to Albert Einstein of the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Well, just keep trying different things.
Yeah.
And eventually something's got to work. Because I know that starting 5 that they trotted out in the non-conference is not the answer.
Sorry, I was just looking up their down conversions where they rank nationally. 68 nationally at 40%, but that's obviously probably skewed by.
Yeah, and that's one of 11 last week against Ohio State. You take out Ohio State, they've actually been pretty good on 3rd down.
But it might be skewed by the other, against softer opponents too. I understand juggling and trying to find your best combination there, but I'm not sure that I just can't remember doing this mid-season before where you're just basically saying, we don't know who our best 5 linemen are, and we're just going to keep rotating and moving guys to different spots. And, until we figure out who they are, which typically you do that in the off season and training camp. To me, it just feels like, I don't know why this wasn't settled. And maybe that's part of the problem that if you don't know who your best 5 is going into the season, it's a problem.
You're answering your question. And when you think about how they had to go to the portal to get some guys, right?
Yeah.
Like it's not like the old days where you just, a couple of guys leave and all of a sudden there's 3 or 4 guys just sitting there waiting for their turn, right? That's just kind of changed. People have talked about that a lot. Like and linemen go in the portal as much as anybody, right, Burnsy? Because especially the left tackles, they can make a lot of money.
Philip Daniels at Ohio State.
That's it. I mean, you lose him, right? Not unexpectedly, but you're probably not necessarily counting on it, right? Because they've been pretty good at retention. and
well,
he wants to go home.
Line recruiting, to your guys' point with why they had to go so portal heavy for the offensive line. If you want to look at a horror show, go look at the Gopher offensive line recruits from 2021 to 2023. Many of them aren't even here, and those should be your redshirt sophomore, juniors, and seniors. They did not recruit well out of high school, so now you had to mitigate it with the portal, and your portal guys haven't been very good so far. I don't know what the answer is, but I just wouldn't keep trotting out the same 5.
You got to the bottom of, well, you didn't get to the bottom of it, but you addressed it with the head coach Burnsy that
which way are we going with this one?
Well, no, I'm just saying what was your favorite Coy Parrish on offense moment? Which one did you guys enjoy? Which part? Because it looks like that's over. And the head coach basically said, yeah, we said we'd all this whole time he said we're going to see what he can handle and let him do what he can handle. And I guess they found even Coy Parrish has limits, at least in their opinion, because they have not trotted them out there for the last 2 games. Are we good with that? Are we okay with that? Or would we like to see him go back to that at some point?
Chip, he's your boy. You've got the Esco jersey hanging in the background.
That's right. I'm fine with it. I don't know if it means it's completely gone, but I think they probably found, after what happened at Cal, maybe just said, let's focus on, let's pare this down. Let's let you go back to being just good at one thing, or good at, try to maybe 2 things, and not just spread so thinly. And I hadn't thought about it until you mentioned it the other day, Guardsy, when we were saying it's hard when you don't get a break during the game. And I'm not just talking about physically. I'm talking about mentally, emotionally, just to be able to just chill for a minute, sit down and chill and get your thoughts.
I'm serious.
Together.
I don't think I saw him sit for the first 3 games. Like, I think he went to the sideline and stood.
And I don't think that's excuse making for anything. I just think it's realistic.
Real.
And
nobody else is doing that.
I thought it was a great point. After you said it, I thought about it. It's like, you need to be able to just kind of focus in on what you're doing on defense and, special teams too. So I'm fine with it. They can revisit it. I think that they probably will. It was probably smart to say, let's pull this back just a little bit and let him not be so consumed with all these different things.
He's been playing better. I still think he's got to clean up a lot in the missed tackle game, where he's part of the, he's coming down, playing in the box quite a bit, and he's missed some of the missed tackles at the line. He's missed multiple tackles in each of the last 3 games. I hear Flex saying it, and then he's talking about how we want to use him in the return game. And then you see him against Ohio State fair catch everything. And I know that bothered me and some others. And so us media jackals, I know that we never ask a tough question in our lives, but that came up. Weird how that happens. Fleck's answer was he didn't want to start drives within the 15 or 20 of Ohio State if Coy were to return it and not go anywhere. And because he's told me, I forget which one of us he told, it was, the statistics are the statistics there.
Yep.
Okay. Well, that's very Fleck risk averse for those of you wondering. So I hope that he can break one in the return game soon. I hope he cleans up the missed tackles. And if he does, it wouldn't surprise me if they allow him to go back on offense by the end of it. But he's got to continue to play much better in terms of the missed tackles. That's the thing for him to clean up here against Purdue.
In fairness to him, he's having to make a lot of tackles. He had 1 million tackles against Rutgers too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
like 10 in the first half.
I'm old enough to remember my first year on the sidelines when Kim Royston, Cretin-Durham Hall's head coach, had like 400 tackles. It's like, yeah, he's a good player. That's good.
Not a good thing.
Yeah. Can anybody else make 1? I mean, do we need Kim to have 15 every game? That's not ideal, right? And I think Kerry Brown and Coy were the leading tacklers, at least through most of that game on Saturday. Those 2 were the leading tacklers, right? And so when you have to make a lot of tackles, Burnsy, you're going to miss more than other people too, by definition.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. So he needs to be a part of the solution on defense. And if he is playing the way we know he's capable of playing, then I think the team will continue to find success. So they need to get him playing better.
Can I bring up a topic? Because I was reading your transcript from PJ yesterday. Where I assumed it was you who asked the question, Burnsy, because it's right up your ballpark.
Probably.
The kicker. Like, I was trying to read PJ's, trying to understand. Maybe I should have watched the video, but just reading the transcript, I have no idea what the hell he was talking about when he was like, you have facts, you have reality, you have. I didn't understand what that was.
Yeah, that question. I was sitting in his office and I asked him that one. And the interesting part about that
nice flex, by the way. I like that flex. Good flex.
Good.
Congratulations on your newly found access.
I'm very, very grateful for
you
it.
Should
for
be
people over at the football facility.
I'm glad you should have that access. So I'm glad.
The thing I took away from that, Chip, is he was non-committal. There was not a committal of this is the answer with Brady Denneberg. We're going to commit to him. He essentially does say, for those of you who haven't read it, what's happening in practice and what's translating over to games is different. And so I have to continue to evaluate everything. And if I'm not a good head coach. To me, that says we're going to have another week of how does it look between Brady Denneberg and your boy, the pride of football across Minnesota himself, Daniel Jackson. Yep. You might be able to get on the field this weekend because the 40-plus yard field goal thing, Brady Denneberg is now 0-5 in his last 5 attempts. He hasn't made a 40-plus yard field goal since 2023 at Syracuse. That's a problem for a man who, I looked into these stats too, Chipper. No Big Ten team has attempted more field goals in 2023 than Minnesota, 2024 than Minnesota, and now that they're struggling to make 40-plus yard field goals in 2025, I think Fleck is going to have to adapt and adjust. So the hope would be, how much longer is this leash for Denneberg from 40-plus? Because from 40 and in, he's been very good, but Fleck loves 40-plus yard field goals.
Well, if you have a kicker that's missing everyone from 40 yard out, you're going to have to change how you call games then. I mean, just
it has to be much different in theory in the headset to Harbaugh.
I think
second, third down, knowing that, yeah,
because it's like what more. At some point, you have to say this is not working. We can't put it on because, I mean, that miss was a mile wide, and it's like you wonder if it's not in his head too. Now, I mean, the kicker knows it, and so I think as the head coach and play caller, you got to as you're nearing that area. You've got to think, okay, do we trust leaving this up to a kicker, or do we have to be more aggressive here and think, okay, we're going to have 2 play calls here because we can't just think that we have an automatic 3 points if we're getting this in this area of the field. So they're going to have to either change kickers or adjust how they call the game.
Well, why it matters is we just talked about the upcoming 4-game stretch. I'm going to assume every one of them is going to be plus or minus 1 possession.
Agree with you. Yeah,
you're going to need a kicker to win you a game at some point in the next 4. That's just the reality of how this is going to go, and they got to get it cleaned up.
And that to me was, I know people got mad that PJ played that field goal the other night. To me, that had nothing to do with that game. That game was long gone. This was about, I got to build some confidence or figure out if this guy can win a game for me later on in the season. That's 100% what that whole decision was about. And so,
100%.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if, I understand that you see one thing in practice and you're not seeing it in game, but games matter too. It's like you got to be able to, and there is going to be a game that comes down to a kick.
For sure.
They play in so many close games, and we've seen it time and time again. And the way they play, you have to be able to trust that the kicker is going to be able to make a 43-yard field goal.
Yeah, and I can confirm it did not hit the Skycam cable like happened in London. Yeah. Which I can't believe no one, I 100% believe it hit the cable. I know people are like, it's an optical illusion. I'm not sure. I think the one video shows it. I can't believe it doesn't happen more, by the way.
Yeah.
That thing's flying around all over the place. But no, the Gophers ones have not hit the cable. So we can't blame it on that. Although, Burnsy, I don't know if it was the high altitude, but you had to be feeling things you hadn't felt in a long time watching Tom Weston punt on Saturday night. I mean, my goodness,
my beating
50
heart.
plus just booming punts. They were probably at your eye level up there on floor 8. You must have, like I said, you just had a flutter, a flutter. You must have thought your watch was probably thinking you were having some type of heart episode because that was some pretty good punting there, Burnsy. Flipping the field?
Heck yeah, man. Yeah, 7 punts over 50 average, and until the last one, it was like a 55 average. We've been pleading for that. My heart was a flutter. I thought the Chicago Bears kicker and Torrey Taylor put on a jersey over there at the Buckeye Stadium. If that guy shows up, the one that I'm sure Fleck was like, we can't get killed here. I need you to boot this. Well, he did a pretty
it was great
flipping the field. They're going to need that to keep showing up.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. All right, let's pause quickly. We got a couple more things to talk about on the Apparent and Spare this week, including what to do at Penn State. It was a great college football story on one side and not so good on the other with Penn State and UCLA. Want to remind you about our great partners and great friends at Jack's Cafe. JAXCafe.com is the website. And we want to remind you about their Hunter's Dinner that's coming up Tuesday, November 4th. And we went through it all last week, just the menu, guys. I mean, it's all kinds of crazy stuff. I mean, kangaroo canopy, sea urchin sushi, bluefin tuna. You've got Icelandic wolfish tacos. You've got split pea soup with wild boar prosciutto, wild rice salad, seared duck breast. I mean, it's all these things that Burnsy goes out and spends months in a deer stand with all his trail cams trying to get or out in the middle of a lake trying to catch. Jack's already has all of it. You don't need to do any of that. You can just go and eat all this great stuff. You have to call for this one. The number's on the website, but it's 612-789-7297, extension 1. Online reservations for Tuesday, November 4th, not accepted. You've got to call. But this is the kind of stuff that they do at Jack's Cafe. On top of everything else, any other day of the week, just great food, great ambiance, great vibe. They put together special events like this, Chipper.
I have never hunted in my life, but I would go.
Me neither.
Take part. Oh, I would love that. I mean, did you see that menu?
I just read most of it. Yes.
It is unbelievable. Like for Bill, it shows you how creative they are. Not only they do like their staples that they've had for 90 years, right? And they do that so well, but the creativity to come up with a menu like that and think about the hunters out there in the season. It's incredible. And it's just going to be outstanding.
Really good.
Really good service, really good food, and a fun night. So really cool thing that Bill puts together because he always does cool things. And so I hope a lot of hunters and non-hunters, you don't have to be a hunter to partake in that. I'm not a hunter. I would love to have that meal.
Yeah, just a bunch of different foods that you've probably never tried. And just to be able to go to a place where you feel very comfortable knowing that it's going to be prepared well. It's not going to taste gamey like I know so many people are so afraid of. Jack's Cafe, this Hunter's Dinner, it sounds outstanding.
Coffee crusted ostrich with chimichurri. It's one of the hors d'oeuvres.
I bet you it's outstanding. I bet you it is.
I'm sure it's really good.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's great. So if that's a little too exotic for you, they have steaks and seafoods and salads and burgers and everything else that you could possibly want, and a great brunch vibe and a great brunch scene, and probably a few more weekends on the best patio in the Twin Cities for brunch. JacksCafe.com is a website. You can see it on the YouTube channel here on the bottom, right underneath Burnsy, JAXCafe.com. Last thing on the Gophers real quick, because we got about 10 minutes or so left here. Mark Coyle made a little bit of news again, Burnsy, in the pregame interview that he does with me. It happens from time to time. I know it's one of your favorite pastimes is reacting to things that are said on the pregame show. But explain what got people's antennas up about my most recent interview with the athletic director.
Yeah, I know that there were some folks that didn't quite understand that maybe the athletic director was speaking a bit in hyperbole, but here was the direct quote that he shared.
I don't think too much, by the way, but go ahead.
Here was the direct quote from Mark Coyle to Justin Gaard here on the pregame show was, Ohio State makes more in one home game in ticket sales than we do all year. I mean, think about that for a second. Now, I understand math can be very confusing for people.
Especially
I also know that maybe there was a bit of hyperbole, like I said, within there, maybe a stretch or two. But think about it, where Ohio State is 105,000 people that attended the game on Saturday night. And I understand that Minnesota's got a 50,000 seat stadium. So you're thinking to yourself, that math doesn't math. Minnesota draws, I don't know, Ryan, 3 to 4 times more. Yeah, Ohio State also charges 3 to 4 times more, and they sell out every freaking game. Plus, I'm sure the seat licenses and whatever.
Seat licenses are different. Yeah.
Like, I bet you it's not too far off. And so if they get 7 of those, and then you look at how much they do in athletic department revenue, there's a reason why Ohio State does 9 figures more in athletic department revenue than the University of Minnesota.
Did that really surprise people? Like,
let me tell you.
Yeah. I tell this story, and this is a different school, but the same thing. At the Michigan press box, there's a window right by outside the AD's booth, and I remember being down there one time with Joel Maturi, and it overlooks that golf course where they park 70,000 cars at whatever, $20 a pop.
Yep.
And we were standing there before a game one day, and I'm looking out and just car after car after car. And they were just, as far as you could see, cars lined up. And Joel, we were just standing there. I was like, it'd be nice, wouldn't it? He just kind of turned at me and smiled. It's like the difference between revenue at Ohio State and Michigan on a game day, it's a different universe. And so maybe it was hyperbole, but not really. He was stressing a point that they're in the same conference, but they're not in the same league in terms of what they're generating in revenue.
And we probably shouldn't have wedged this in at the end. And again, none of this is really new, but because I had the same experience at Penn State, Chipper, when I looked out the back of that old press box and you see all the car, basically
the RVs.
Well, it's just the RVs. Basically, the mountains aren't going that way, so you can basically see to Pittsburgh from there, and it's just car after car after car after car, and you're like, yeah, there's going to be 108,000 here, right? Same deal.
Yeah.
And I mean, we learned in the Gene Smith, and in fairness to Mark, it got brought up because I was asking him about this private capital investor thing that now I think is going to happen. And it's not so much private equity as there is going to be some type of big investment from somebody where it's not, they're going to own the league now and everything the league does is going to this. And Mark brought up the deficit, that has been written about their budgetary deficit, which I think is like 8 to 9 million, right, Burnsy, somewhere in that. And last year they had to fight and scratch and claw to have a balanced budget. And so in fairness to Mark, I brought that up because I said, yeah, it's great that's kind of what you're thinking about with the revenue and this new revenue, because now you've got to pay the players and all of this. And, we're at a place where the former athletic director said, yeah, we're going 30 million in the red because I want to be good at football my last year and the next guy will figure it out. I mean, which we've talked about, right? Like I'm not exaggerating that quote, right? Gene Smith said, we needed to have football win in my last year, and I left the mess for my predecessor to figure it out. And it was $30 million. And so we learned that in that time they had 2 fewer home games or whatever, and they had it at like $8 or $9 million a game. Gophers probably make between 1.5 and 2, I would guess, something like that, maybe a little bit more. So it really isn't that far off what he said. And I don't know why that would offend people. And then you get people going, we'll make more money. Like, oh, okay. No problem. Yep. Any ideas? Any thoughts? Because it's not as easy to just go, well, we need to make more money. Let's make more money. Like it just kind of is what it is. But that's where I think, the Gophers have beaten Ohio State 7 times in history. Do they get 3 wins over Ohio State in the rest of our lifetimes in the next 4? When you just think about where they are and what they can do. And again, I'm not saying that to be critical. I'm just trying to, they've won 1 time in my life, 2000. The year before I was born in 1981, they also beat the Buckeyes. Mike Hohensee, Jay Carroll. So 1 time in 43 years they've beaten this team. Do we think they're getting another 2 or 3? Like just when you guys have all been there, we've all seen it, and I just think it's real life, unfortunately.
I mean, if you're going to do it, you got to do it at home. But I mean, to your point, that the discrepancy in money now just translates to the talent on the field, and that's the reality of what this thing is turning into. And maybe in 5-10 years, when there's a collective bargaining agreement, maybe there's a salary cap and floor, like this thing becomes much more attainable. But I certainly understand the premise here.
Well, there's a talent gap, or was a talent gap way before NIL. I mean, it's a history and all that goes into it. And now you add, hey, now you can give NIL and now we'll always, we go back to the revenue share. You can match whatever Ohio State does. What you can't match is NIL. I mean, you can, but you're not going to because of their, the deep pockets they have. But in terms of revenue share, you can give the same percentage as they do. But the difference is, they have all this revenue coming in from tickets, parkings, licensing, sponsorships, donors. I mean, I always said when I went there, it's like, there are a few places that just feel like, and I come from the SEC background, don't hold it against me, but it felt like the SEC win at all costs, like huge event. Obviously, Ohio State's one of those, and Penn State feels that way too when I go there.
Yep. So anyway, it's always fun to make a little news.
Yeah. Speaking, how about my segue? You see, that's why I'm the pro here.
Welcome in. I can't say I saw that coming. Maybe I should have.
No.
You doubted the 3 time zone theory. I don't know why you doubted it.
Yeah, well, and we've seen it. We saw it with Penn State and USC last year. They struggled for a half and then got their act together. UCLA had not led in a game all season. And with the son of Rick Neuheisel, Jerry, getting his first crack at offensive coordinator, which what tremendous hair, first of all.
The hair is just flying everywhere.
Hair is everywhere. That is why you like college football, right? Not if you're a Penn State fan. Yeah, you're obviously you're mad that you lost to Oregon. Then you think, all right, here's a get-right game. Let's just get out of here against one of the worst teams this conference has seen in a while. And Jerry Neuheisel and the Fighting Bruins had different ideas. And what a moment. What a moment. What a time. His dad watching on CBS. That was great. Crying after the game, the whole bit. It was very, very cool.
Well, we always said, now, no one saw that coming, right? Obviously. But I think we said last week, in college football, if you are not ready to play and your head is somewhere else, things happen, I mean, I can't imagine the heat, what the temperature is like in Happy Valley and Pennsylvania and Philadelphia and all that area there. The questions become, and you're seeing it nationally, what do you do with James Franklin? Is it time for both of a mutual separation? I'm guessing he's one of the highest paid coaches in college football, probably top 5, if not top 10, right?
Allegedly, because Penn State is a private university, we don't know, but I know the buyout number I've heard thrown around from those in the know is north of $40 million.
Yeah, I'm guessing he has to be top 10. If
Penn State is not a private university.
Yeah, it is. You can't. It's called there's a difference. It's called a land grant, I think is the term.
Oh, man.
When I was on the beat, and I would always do try to get contracts to compare. Them and Northwestern were the 2 that you couldn't get.
Thank you for standing up for me, Chip. I appreciate that.
Ryan, I'm sorry.
Look it up, but I think it's called, is it land grant? It's something where they're not technically private.
No surprise that the guy who never graduated from college doesn't understand what's private and what's public. I went to 5. USC, you don't have to do either now because they're private.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
So is he the coach at Penn State next year?
I can't see it.
Is it 50-50 at this point? I don't know.
To go from being in the college football playoff semifinal to being fired the next year is crazy. But I also understand the side of they just don't win these games anymore. The top 10 games, his record there. And then you go in and you have what I would argue, and you both give me your opinion on this. That's an 0-4 team beating the AP top 10 team. It's the first time it's happened since 1985. Wow. Is that the worst loss in the modern era for Penn State?
I mean, I don't have their
it probably have to be up there.
Can't imagine
UCLA finished off what Kunle Ayinde couldn't do in 2016, Guardsy.
I think you mentioned firing, and I don't know like how many soft landings are there spots where he would be willing to go. Would it be one of those situations where he's like, you know what?
Right.
It's sort of mutual, Yeah. But how many? He's not going to want to go. You're going to have to go backwards a little because there's few programs that have Penn States. There's only handful, dozen, or whatever they have.
I would imagine if this does happen, and we can spend the whole month of November figuring it out because they're going to have crucial games against Ohio State that are going to dictate this. But I would imagine there would probably be a negotiated down buyout if at that point, because I'm sure James is tired of answering the questions and Penn State wants to get out. And I would be fascinated to see, because that's a very appealing job for a lot of people.
Oh, yeah.
Penn State? Oh, they'd line up a mile long to get that job.
Top 5 or 6 or 7 job.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, for sure, with their resources and
especially
all that,
going in, new press box coming up. Like, I think that's about to be done. Like, they're, even for them, going above and beyond what they have done historically, which has been a lot. Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. That's a great job.
But how cool for UCLA, where there's like, did you see the shot to open the game? I'm sure that the producer, because there's like 7 people in the stands. I've never seen so many open seats at the Rose Bowl in my life.
Yeah.
Penn State played that way. I mean, UCLA goes out to a 7-0 lead. They recover an onside kick, make it double digits, and then they just never looked back. And then that moment between Neuheisel and his kid, and that's fun, man.
That's cool. Great. Fun. It's great, and you feel happy for the players that hang in, because that's what what's always struck me that people don't understand is like these guys, even the bad teams, are working their asses off.
It's a job. It's a job.
Doing a lot of things like, going all the way back to January, and they might not go on spring break, and they're on campus all summer. Like, I get it. There's a lot of them are getting paid now, right? A lot of them are making money. Yep. You get a free education, you get the food, but still, when you put in all that work and then get your ass handed to you and your coach gets fired, like, it's hard to just keep showing back up, like having no idea if it's going to work or not. Like, odds are you're going to get boat raced by Penn State, but you still got to get there at 6 a.m. for weights. Like, that is tough. So I always feel good for that.
What was the line on that game?
25 or something.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It was 3 touchdowns plus. Yeah.
Yeah. My other favorite stat now from that game is we're in the month of October and Penn State has not beaten a Power 5 team yet.
Right. And they didn't play well before Oregon, like this, it's just been kind of sloppy. And so, sometimes the things don't lie. What you're seeing doesn't lie. You can't just say you're going to turn it on. All right, Burnsy, I know you want to talk Wisconsin and Iowa before we go. The 2 border rivals. This is a big one. This is a big one. Wisconsin hung around with Michigan for a while. I don't think either of those teams are great. They might just be, we know about Wisconsin. Michigan might just be a middle-of-the-road Big Ten team, too. The quarterback's talented. He made some really nice plays. Wisconsin's defense is good, but their quarterback situation, for no fault of their own, has been rough. But what do you want to get off your chest about Wisconsin, Iowa, Wisconsin, Michigan, whatever you got there?
I think it's a huge game for both teams where Fickell needs to try and continue to right this ship. And now they're on quarterback 3 as they were starting a kid from Southern Illinois over Danny O'Neill, who is clearly available for that game. And then on the flip side, you've got Iowa coming off a bye week, and we have no idea what the status of Mark Gronowski is. I know that he was listed on the depth chart, but I also know I've seen the media reports of he's week to week. And the last we saw from him as we sit here today, 10 days ago, was he couldn't return to the game because he couldn't decelerate.
Yeah.
That sounds petrifying to me if I'm a Hawkeye fan. So I think the line for this game is in the 30s. It's at Camp Randall. Like, this is a huge game for both teams. And that's why I'm a little upset that this game's at the same time as the Gophers, roughly. It's going to be at 6 p.m. on FS1, but I am fascinated. I think this is a great slate just overall in the Big Ten because you've got Ohio State traveling to Champaign at 11 a.m. You've also got Indiana going to Oregon at 2:30. Heck, even the Friday night game, which is Rutgers taking a 5.5-hour flight to Washington. We've seen Kurt Chiraka off a bye week for generations now be really good. I think it's an outstanding slate.
It's interesting. As I told you guys, I was looking at, the takeaways nationally. Purdue is dead last in college football. They have 1 takeaway in 5 games. Iowa's down at the bottom too. They only have 3 takeaways.
Right.
When has the Iowa defense only had 3 takeaways in 5 games? I mean, that to me, we know their formula, right? So that really jumped out to me. That their defense hasn't been as opportunistic as we've seen, and so maybe this is the week that changed. Obviously, you're going against a backup quarterback. Maybe but I'm sure Phil Parker, that's something he stresses. Like, this is not typically their DNA that they're not taking the ball away defensively. So that surprised me, but yeah, that's going to be a low scoring game there in Madison, I would assume. And it'll probably come down to turnovers. Who can create them?
Yeah, especially if Gronowski is injured. I think if Gronowski's healthy, I'm just not a believer in Wisconsin right now. I just think the vibe is so bad, and I'd be stuck. And it's going to turn if things aren't going very well. The grumbling, the fan. We've talked about their fan base. They have not been happy with anything that's gone on. So if Gronowski is somehow playing, which Burnsy laid out his timeline, what we know about it, I just wouldn't. I just think Iowa's going to win that game pretty comfortably, but maybe I'm underselling the Badgers. Maybe the Badgers are still going to hang on, and they know that they don't have a lot of great opportunities like this, right? That's part of their problem.
Well, I'm sure the equivalent is in Wisconsin is having the same conversation. What an opening drive.
Yeah.
And then what happened?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're right, though,
All
when
right.
you look at your schedule, like how much you have to see your spots, right? And they're probably saying this is our one, we don't only have a few of these left. So,
you mean they
it'll
don't have a shot after this game when they take on Ohio State and Oregon? What do you mean, Chip?
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
And rivalry games are weird, right?
Yeah,
Rivalry games are weird. It's an important game for both programs, always has been. Used to be the winner of the Big Ten West came out of this game, right?
Yeah. Yep.
All right. Well, I lost a bet with myself. I tried to play Burnsy bingo today, and I couldn't
You
go.
couldn't get him?
I couldn't get him to say what I wanted him to say. I wrote it down because I wanted proof, and I got to be fair. When I say that I get Burnsy, and I tried too these last couple minutes, limping in. I'm just gonna pull this up. What does this say, Burnsy?
I knew there was something fishy about the way you brought that up. I almost did it. I almost talked about the 42 Wisconsin push-ups. I almost did it.
Yeah, didn't you? I could tell. That's why I kept throwing it out there. For people not watching on YouTube, I like to write out things I know Burnsy is going to say, and he has loved the fact that Wisconsin has done 42 push-ups every day this offseason for how many points they score. They let Iowa score last year. I wrote it down just before we hit record, and God, you were close, weren't you? I almost had you.
I love to play the hits. Every listener knows that. But.
Damn it. I'm so mad. That makes me more mad. I wish you would have said, oh, I didn't even think about it. But the fact that it was right there and I just didn't make the right play. I didn't put the right ember in the fire to stoke the flame. Oh, that bothers me. That really bothers me.
You'll
but
change
good
your
job
next week, I'm sure.
Yep. I will. All right. Have a great week, everybody. Remember, check out the Hunter's Dinner at Jack's Cafe, or just any dinner at Jack's Cafe. Whether you want to eat the great menu on Hunter's Dinner night or not, it's all there for you at jaxcafe.com. And we will talk to you next week on the Pair and a Spare podcast.